Hello everyone. Today is July 31st. It's 12:45 p.m. We're going to talk about Mars, the third house, and the Drekkana varga, and siblings, and the karma that we have with our brothers and sisters. First thing you got to know, third house is siblings overall, but in particular the younger siblings. The 11th house can have to do with older siblings, but in a general sense, the third and Mars are the main factors, but then also for elder siblings, 11th house and Saturn. Saturn is the elder sibling, okay? Now, here's another really important factor to know. The Septamsha is the varga of socializing, of the public, it's the 7th varga of partners. The Drekkana varga is the varga of, sorry, why is that? Something just popped up on my screen, sorry. The Drekkana varga is the varga of people that are not necessarily like partners, someone you have to co-create to make a thing like a child. You have to have the other partner. That's the 7th and the Septamsha. But the 3rd and the Drekkana is more of the people that you will sort of that are going along and approaching similar goals and aims as you. So they can be like your neighbors or your teammates, people who are kind of approaching the same goals as you and on similar themes and on similar routes in life. And so that's why it relates to your siblings, because your siblings are like, okay, yeah, they're born in the same family as you. They're going to have a lot of the same issues as you. They have the same parents, and they're going to approach life and, need to get the same things, and how they get them and is determined by the Drekkana. Like how you play with others, like doesn't play well with others, or this person does play well with others. That's the Drekkana chart, and that's your Mars and your 3rd house and your self-expression and how you assert yourself. If that's all good, then yeah, you play well with others, but if not, then you maybe don't. And really what's fascinating is that the 3rd is like, how should I say this? Your parents, the way that you interact with your siblings and your brothers and sisters is sort of like the first thing that your parents react to, and by that they determine how they're going to raise you and how they're going to, some kids, they do so they have difficulties with that, so they put them in a different school, or they automatically start making changes in your life as a result of that. So this is an important varga. Yeah, that's pretty much all I needed to cover for this example. Okay, so, all right, so this is an example of a chart. This is a Scorpio. I know this is an older woman, and I know her family very well. And she has 2 other siblings. And she has had some interesting sibling karmas, so I wanted to use this as an example and speak to it. Got my notes here. So she's a Scorpio and ruled by Mars. Mars is in the 2nd house natally, and it is starred by the 3rd and 11th lords. So sibling issues are indicated from birth, because the ascendant lord here, Mars, is starved by Saturn, the planet of elder siblings, and Mercury, the planet that rules the 11th house, which is the house of elder siblings. Mars is the planet of younger siblings, so you can already kind of guess that this is probably the younger sibling, right? You should be able to get close to guessing that at least. So this person is probably the younger sibling. But, I usually want to check more than one factor to be sure of that if I'm going to, if you want to be right all the time. So then I also looked at, okay, the 3rd house has Venus, which is the lord of the 11th. So the 11th lord of elder siblings goes to the 3rd. So her brothers or her sisters are elder. So she is the youngest. The other 2 are the elders, or the elder siblings. And you can predict that pretty accurately, honestly. And Karen Rao, not KRN Rao. I think I was trying to say KRS. KN Rao was, I believe, the first to explain that technique of how obvious it can be when you see 3rd and 11th house connections and the planets there, or Mars or Saturn in one of those places will give you major clues as to whether the person has older or younger siblings or in the middle or what. So the 11th Lord Mercury is with Saturn, planet of elder siblings. Mercury starves Mars, just so you know. So Saturn naturally starves every planet he's with. So Saturn is starving Mars, but Mercury is also starving Mars. So both of the factors that represent these elder siblings are not doing good things, but are causing starvation or, difficult things. The other thing that's really neat is that you could guess that this probably is, she probably has female sisters. And this is a female, and her siblings are probably female. You can guess that because the 11th Lord is, it has a male planet there, but it's Venus, and it's going to third, and Venus is entirely female. And Aquarius is also the sign of 11th, or the 11th sign, so the sign of elder siblings. So again, having Venus there, female planet, Rashi aspected by a very strong moon, and then also Jupiter. But so that kind of dominates as female, the really strong full moon in its own sign, and then the Venus there. So yeah, you would be correct if you guessed she had female siblings. Now let's look. So basically, yeah, you can see from the chart that she is sort of fated, or scheduled, or her chart is just indicated much more so to have issues with siblings than the average person maybe. And then one more reason for that is because her Atmakaraka is Jupiter, and it's in Libra, where Libra, gets starved there, and with the 11th cusp. So starvation connected to elder siblings. And then, Venus, the Lord of it, we've already seen how it connects to sisters, and it's aspecting. That's also a starvation factor. But at the same time, it's also giving manifesting strength from a Gemini position, and that's too complicated to go into here. So then, looking at her Drekkana Varga, let me pull that up. One second. Okay, so here's her Drekkana chart. Right away, moon, that bright full moon that we noticed, that is a true full moon. See how it's only it's only 6 degrees away from being completely full. It's in its own sign. So this person is blessed with having a very strong moon, a very strong, nourishing, nurturing nature, and good, soft, good, divine feminine type of qualities. And moon is here in Cancer, in its own sign, Vargatama, in this particular Drekkana Varga. And so that's interesting because she's kind of is the most beloved of the siblings. The other two have maybe had much more lucky opportunities, as the elder siblings often get. They often get more of everything. That's why they are ruled by Saturn, because from your perspective, they're the thing causing the lack, because the elder always gets the first choice of everything. You know what I mean? And but again, this is the moon. This is showing that she's a really good, kind of precious sibling in the context of her happiness with a sibling. She's the one that the mother likes the most, Don't tell the others I said that. So the sibling Karaka Mars is in the 6th house. Actually, let me do this a little bit better. You can flip to Gemini. You can see the screen. Here, you can see her Drekkana. Now this big chart is her Drekkana chart. And the sibling Karaka is Mars, the most important planet in the Drekkana Varga, and it is in the house of enemies, the 6th house from the ascendant, and it's with the 6th cusp. And it's in Sagittarius, a sign of falls from heights. But it has two benefics there, so not necessarily like a serious fall, nothing really, really crazy I'm about to tell you, but just definitely a lot of enmity with the siblings, and they're just jealous and bitter, and she's just, because she's the younger sibling, but she's been much more successful in her life across the board. So as life has gone on, they've gotten more and more bitter and more kind of jealous of her because they thought they were so great at everything the whole time. And as time went on, it became more and more true that their decisions led to failure and a lot of bad results, and hers didn't. The other, what do I have here? I saw a lot of things, so I had to make some notes. Oh yeah, Mars is also ruling over Rahu and Saturn. Saturn is debilitated in the 10th house. So yeah, so that's really, really important. Saturn rules the third cusp in the Rashi birth chart. That alone would be an indication, but then more so because Saturn rules the third cusp in the Drekkana varga. So there isn't a fallen, really low quality, really bad karma quality of her older siblings that she's going to have to face in this life. The other elder sibling factor is the 11th house, which happens to, the 11th house, we can look at both. The 11th sign, the 11th house, has 2 cruel planets in it. It has a starved sun, and it has Ketu there. Sun and Ketu don't like being together. The 11th cusp, we also should look at, and that the lord of that, Venus, is in good dignity, but it is starving Jupiter, which is her happiness. So you see, her elder siblings, they are successful or doing okay and doing well, but yet they starve her Jupiter, her happiness, and then even more her happiness because Jupiter rules the 4th cusp of happiness. Yeah, so again, we see, the more and more you see these issues, the more and more it's compounding. Also, the 11th Lord, Venus is the Lord of the 11th sign, and the 11th Lord is in the 12th, again indicating like losses due to siblings, elder siblings. What's really interesting about this is if you knew the other 2 sisters' charts, one of them is a Gemini ascendant with Venus and Ketu on the ascendant. So it's literally like this Venus in Gemini that is doing the starving. And that's what's crazy is that with that person, her main issue is that she is too obsessed with luxury and living comfortably in every way and in every state possible that she won't do any work. And she hasn't worked in over a decade. She's so unhealthy now and so overweight and so addicted to different pills and things that she's can't work. And she just lays around on a couch and stuff, and she can't. It's really unfortunate because I know how sharp she is, and she is smart, and she has a great mind. Venus and Gemini is not a bad placement for the intellect and the mind and being creative. But that Ketu, certainly other issues in the chart, I don't remember the rest of it, but that Venus Ketu issue right on the ascendant spoke so clearly to her because she was so unwilling to do anything beneath her, and she just expected luxury, every part of life to be just a luxurious, beautiful stroll through a garden, and so she acts like anything other than that is totally beneath her. And even when it comes to luxury, she doesn't even she's just too decadent, and so it's just really fascinating because one sibling has that Venus Ketu issue in the sign of Gemini as her path, and has not really learned the lessons that she was meant to learn from that yet. And the other sister, I think is the main oldest one, she has a Venus-Jupiter conjunction. And that's the thing that messes her up, is that her Jupiter, her happiness, is starved by Venus, so she thinks that material things are what make her happy. So basically, their mother is close to the end, and she probably won't be living a whole lot longer. And they got in all these fights, in Christmas and at various times over silverware, over China, over this, over that. All these fights over material objects, Venus, luxury, nice silverware, and nice, these luxurious items were what was starving this older sibling's happiness, who has the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, because she ruined her relationship with her mother, essentially, over her jealousy. And because she was the older sibling, she kind of, but she's really dysfunctional, but won't admit that. The mother knows that and knows how she causes more problems than she helps. And so she gets this younger sibling whose chart we're looking at, she gets her to help with everything. But that makes the older sibling feel so insulted that every time, it's not her that found the old folks home. It was the younger sibling. And so, of course, she feels like she has to bash that old folks home. No, that place sucks. I would have found a way better house for her, And it's been going on and on for like 5 months, since like back in April. And that was when Mars was in the third house of siblings in Capricorn, exalted with the planet of the elder sibling Saturn. So this was sort of the year that all that was scheduled to become really important for her. And for this chart of this woman, the youngest sibling, to learn to deal with it and to learn to stand up for herself and to not doubt herself when these two older siblings try to make her, insult her, make her feel bad, make her feel crazy, because this is the only one that's actually taking care of their mother. She's actually doing the good deeds. As you can see from this bright full moon on the ascendant. And so they've had, over the last few months, the two elder siblings have kind of ruined their relationship with their mother, and it's pretty much beyond saving. And that's really sad. But at the positive side is that this person has really grown even closer with their mother and has really generated a lot of positive karmic merit that we were able to see from the chart and from various other omens and ways of working with that. So as I wrote here, yeah, her sibling karma is meant to really be a rocky path overall, and she's always been insulted, and they would always, take her things when she was young, and she would talk about that, and and just kind of be dominating over her. And her whole life, she's finally learning to strengthen herself and assert herself, and her self-will is developing, and she's standing up for herself and her mother in this whole process. And so this Mars exalted in Capricorn and then retrograding back into Capricorn, it's been overall a stressful time for her, but a very, very powerful learning time, a training time. And the third house has to do with training as well. So she's learned to strengthen her overall vulnerabilities, and those are all things that her chart speaks to as well, by having Ketu in the 7th in the Rashi and having Rahu on the ascendant. Rahu on the ascendant in Scorpio really means you need to strengthen yourself, focus on yourself more, not listen to what everyone else tells you to do maybe, and by working with your own self and trusting your own self, you might overcome your vulnerabilities. So she's made a lot of great progress in her life as of late, basically. Oh, and then the other note I had here is that she just entered Venus period, so that's another reason why a lot more sibling karmas have come up, because if we look, here, let me close this. You look at the Rashi chart, Venus is there in the third the third house, cusp, and in the sign of elder siblings, Aquarius. Now, when we look at the transits, it's really interesting, because basically this spring she had her Mars, her Lagnesh exalted, like I was saying. Around that time was when the mother had this black mold show up in her house out of nowhere, and so then she had to move out of her house she'd been in for that whole time and be moved into an old folks home. And what's funny is mold even has to do with Capricorn. Capricorn's a sign of kapha, of mildew, of mold, of like stagnant water, like it rules like marsh and like swamps where things are just kind of stagnant. So yeah, black mold, black is the color of Saturn. So black mold, it was all of a sudden this big deal, and she had to move out of her house and like within the span of a week and find an old folks home. Extremely stressful period. The chart of what we're looking at, this woman, this daughter, she helped her with the whole thing. The other two siblings just fought the whole part of it, wouldn't do anything. And honestly, they really even can't do much. Like I said, one's so overweight, she's out of breath by the time she walks to her door or something, you know, but yet she still has the audacity to criticize and act like she is the greatest. It's nuts. Yeah, and so basically, yeah, basically explained all that. But the mother at that point just feels like the other two sisters are so dysfunctional that she's not even wanting to help them out. And because, yeah, they're more content to just sit tight and argue and fight over who is inheriting what little piece of jewelry or furniture than to actually do anything productive or help their mother. But what's really good, the good news is that at least there was some good news that this woman texted me and was like, "What happened today?" Because today, both of my sisters happened to just apologize to me and tell me how bad they felt and all this stuff. And that happened to be on the 21st, the exact day that, if you look at this box, her ruling planet Mars seed had been in the 4th house of family with the 3rd cusp and retrograding over K2. So there are all these past life, weird K2 ancestral karmas going on. Right when Mars passed K2 and got to 537, K2's at 555, and then the sisters sort of apologized. And so that's really interesting. And it seems like there may have been some sort of K2 past life karmic thing finally got dissolved there. But I'm not expecting any miracles, and I told her that, you know, when Mars retrogrades back into the 3rd with Saturn, that period from about August 10th to September 10th, you might want to expect another stressful situation, or just be ready for it. And, you know, don't get upset if they start sending you nasty emails or texts again. Just ignore them, delete them, whatever you got to do, because that's also an eclipse time, and that is when Mars and Saturn will be starving each other again. And so yeah, so this is kind of how that Mars-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn, and then Mars up in Aquarius and K2, and then back in Capricorn. This is one example of how that has been affecting, you know, this one person's life. And we'll see if the period from the 10th of August to September 11th will also bring up situations again or not. I don't know. But yeah, this Drekkana Varga, it's really, really useful. It's a really great thing. It's also very interesting how all the Sanskrit words for the Vargas, it's like Shashyamsa, Hora, or not Hora, Shashyamsha, Kavidamsha, Chaturvamsha, Navamsha. They all have the same Sanskrit case and everything, except Aura and Drekkana. Those are not the same. Those are obviously Greek words, you know, and they come from the Greek tradition. And so I'm not saying, like some people say, that Vedic astrology really came from the Greeks. No, because then where did all the other thousands of Sanskrit words for yogas and things come from, like Sara yoga, the arrow yoga, or, you know, all these other Sanskrit words. But I do think that is evidence of 3rd house things, of the sharing of information, a networking of cultures and past times that was very important. And we kind of forget that, how much these ancient cultures shared knowledge in the more enlightened ages. And even in Alexandria, not that long ago, you know, every ship that went into Alexandria had to have every single manuscript had to be handed over, copied, and recorded, and handed by all the scribes to be stored and archived in Alexandria, and then it was handed back to the ship, and then they could go back, and then they could sail back to India or China. So there was a lot more sharing of knowledge than we think, and I think that's why the zodiac and all these traditions have little bits and remnants of things. So I think that's kind of interesting how the Drekkana has come to be that way, because when I studied some Western astrology, the decanates are the exact same thing as the Drekkana. The decanates are basically a remnant of the Vargas, of Western astrology having Vargas. So if you ask me, Western astrology definitely had Vargas in ancient times, and they just slowly lost them. All right, cool, you guys. Hope you enjoy this example. Any questions? Feel free to leave them. Take care.